Fallingwater is considered one of the greatest architectural achievements of the 20th century. It was named Frank Lloyd Wright's most beautiful job and the best all-time work of American architecture. Fallingwater also revived Wright's career and helped him regain prominence in the community. Edgar J. Kaufman was a businessman from Pittsburgh who was the well-respected president of Kaufman's department store. He and his wife Lillian were known for their love of the outdoors as well as their aesthetic taste and prominence in Pittsburgh's social circles. Also, fun fact, Edgar and Lillian had to get married in New York City because they were first cousins and could not marry in Pennsylvania. In the summer of 1934, their son Edgar Kaufman Jr. read Frank Lloyd Wright's An Autobiography and decided to travel to Wisconsin to meet him. He quickly began an apprenticeship at the communal architecture program called the Taliesin Fellowship that Wright and his wife had started. In the fall of 1934, Edgar and Lillian traveled to Wisconsin to visit their son and to meet Wright. In addition to their main residence, they also owned property on Bear Run in Stewart Township outside of Pittsburgh as a summer retreat. After their cabin there deteriorated, they contacted Frank Lloyd Wright to build them a new summer home. In the fall of 1935, Edgar Sr. was in Wisconsin on business and called Frank Lloyd Wright in the morning of Sunday, September 22nd to let him know that he would be visiting him later that day. He was excited to see the plans that Wright had told him he was making progress on. However, in reality, Frank Lloyd Wright hadn't worked on them at all. In the 2 hours that it took Edgar to drive to his home, Frank Lloyd Wright calmly drew the plans surrounded by a bunch of nervous architecture students. It is said that Edgar was initially upset at these plans since he had expected the home to be built below the falls, while Wright designed it above the falls. This change, however, would prove to make the home legendary. In December 1935, an old rock quarry near the property was reopened to provide the stones needed to build the house's walls. And in April 1936, construction began on the main house. However, the construction was not smooth sailing. Wright, Edgar, and the contractor frequently got into fights. Edgar did not think that Wright was experienced enough with reinforced concrete, and Wright threatened to withdraw from the project after Edgar had his designs reviewed by consultants. They eventually resolved the argument and the consulting engineer's report was buried within the walls of the house. The contractor, who was also an engineer, argued for more reinforcement, which Wright refused. However, during the restoration of the house in 1995, it was found that additional concrete reinforcement had been quietly added by the contractor. The main house was completed in December 1937, and the guest house in 1939. Albert Einstein also visited the house in 1939 on a trip to Pittsburgh. The final cost of the project was $155,000, or about $3.3 million today. The design's attention to detail and almost seamless integration with nature have cemented it as a masterpiece. Wright also designed the interior to ensure that the visual flow between the interior and landscape was uninterrupted. It was used as the Kaufman family's weekend home until 1963, when Edgar Jr. donated the property to the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy. And today it's a breathtaking museum that's open to the public.